The Annihilation of Fish is a 1999 American romance directed by Charles Burnett that stars Lynn Redgrave, James Earl Jones, and Margot Kidder. The synopsis: wistful and lonely Flower Poinsettia Cummings is freshly out of her relationship with the dead composer Giacomo Puccini, while Jamaican immigrant Obadiah Fish Johnson, James Earl Jones, has just been released from a mental institution that cannot cure him of the antagonistic demon that follows him wherever he goes. When the two become neighbors, they embark on an unlikely romance in the Annihilation of Fish. Vincent's selection for this stop on the Micheaux Mission. Vincent, what say you of the Annihilation of Fish?
Well, I think I was teasing you last week. I don't know if we did it on camera or not, where I said that you gave me a gift with Alien, and I was going to give you a gift with Annihilation of Fish. And whether or not you like it, I guess we'll see soon. But I do have to say, the first time I saw this film, I saw it this summer, I said, oh, this really strikes me as something up Lynn's alley. Because there's a real coziness to this film. There's a real light sense of whimsy that it reminds me of the type of production you would catch on PBS or the BBC in the late 70s, going into the 80s, where it was almost a parlor drama, and drama is very strong. As you mentioned, this is a film about these three older characters who come together and form this unlikely community. And starting there, in a lot of ways, this is a demographic that Charles Burnett, the great Charles Burnett, has visited before. One of our favorite films here as in the Mission, To Sleep with Anger, a film that he makes almost 10 years before this, is about older people.
Yes.
And the way they work with each other, and this sort of theme that life doesn't end when the world tells you it ends. But whereas in The Sleep with Anger, you had the past is never really the past, and the past is vibrant, the past catches up with you. In this film, you get something a lot more intimate, where it tells you life isn't over just because of hurt, just because of loneliness. You can always start anew. You can always start again. As you mentioned, there are three characters. There is Fish, who is a man who has been mentally institutionalized for 10 years when the film started, because he sees visions of a demon.
Yes.
That he wrestles with.
Yeah, and he's not wrestling with the demon. He is literally jumping around.
He is jumping around fighting with this demon. And hold on real quick. And it has gotten so out of control, and because of government cutbacks, he's been set loose.
Yes.
From the institution where he has lived. Lynn Redgrave plays a woman who believes she is having a love affair with the dead composer Puccini, who died in 1920. And her life also unravels. And then the third part of this triad is Margot Kidder's character.
Yes.
Who runs a rooming house that, the assumption is she lived there with her husband before he died, and now she runs this rooming house. And these three people come together. Fish ends up having an affair, or having a love affair, with Poinsettia.
Yes.
and they all kind of fit together. I think the other theme that this film explores is the definition of damaged, the definition of broken. These are three people that I think many of us would look at, and on the face of it, there is, quote unquote, something wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
Margot Kidder's character is a little off. She's keeping alive this weed. Mm-hmm. She's very adamant about the last name that she has, because she is a widower and Mrs. Muldoon, and she is very adamant about adding this E to her name. As we mentioned, Fish is wrestling with a demon at inopportune times. When the film opens in the middle of a church service, he falls out and wrestles with this demon. And then Poinsettia, again, believes that she's having a love affair with the ghost of Puccini. And these are people that many of us will look at and say they're crazy. Mm-hmm. But I think what the film very lovingly explores is the sentiment that they're not crazy. They're just puzzle pieces that haven't found a matching piece. And when they do find the piece, you get a whole. Mm-hmm. And the three of them again form this beautiful community. Charles Burnett, we've talked about the great Charles Burnett, whether we're talking about The Killer of Sheep, whether we're talking about The Sleep with Anger, again, two films that we both love. And I think Charles Burnett is in great form in this film, just his direction, just on the level of direction. I think the performances, which I'll talk about in a moment, that he pulls out of these three characters is wonderful with all three of the actors. I think his shot composition, I think the blocking, just the way he establishes place is wonderful. He does this wonderful move, this sort of narrative, this storytelling, where both Fish and Poinsettia, before they come to this rooming house, you have all of these far shots where you see the two characters outside. And you can feel the loneliness. You can feel how big the world is.
Yeah.
With them by themselves. They move into this rooming house, and immediately the shots are very tight, very close. Again, conveying this coziness, conveying this intimacy, conveying this warmth. But then, as Fish and Poinsettia begin to fall for one another, and they go back out into the world, the shots shift and you see the beauty of the world when you have someone to share it with.
Right.
There's a wonderful sequence where Fish and Poinsettia are out in the rain. It's actually the cover of the Criterion edition of this, where the two of them have umbrellas. And Fish is in all black. He's wearing a bow tie. He almost looks like he has on a tuxedo with this black umbrella, and he's in the foreground. And Poinsettia is in the back wearing this amazingly bright dress and this red umbrella. And somehow both of them stay in the focus. He in the foreground, she in the background. But the way that the shot is, you can see how they're connected. You see this beautiful, wonderful, intimacy and delicacy.
Yeah.
Of these two together. That is wonderful. And you get shots like this throughout. There's a beautiful dance scene. There are wonderful shots of Fish and Poinsettia playing cards together. And it is just wonderful from scene to scene, just from the level of direction. This is a tight film with three actors.
Yeah. For the most part,
there are other people come in and out as far as the scene needs, but it really is these three actors that hold it. In sort of a metatextual case of casting, at least for me, I forget about Margot Kidder.
Yes.
Like, in my mind, Margot Kidder is eternally Lois Lane. So that it actually threw me a little bit when I saw this woman who is not Margot Kidder from 1978.
Mm-hmm.
But time goes on.
Yes. Yes.
And this Margot Kidder, this older Margot Kidder, reminded me of why everyone loved Lois Lane.
Mm-hmm.
There is a sense of mischief. There is a sense of charm. There is a understated wit.
Yes.
To her, that she is kind of the glue that holds it together. Absolutely loved Margot Kidder.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about the physicality of James Earl Jones in a moment, but I think there is a physicality to Lynn Redgrave's performance. Not to be condescending or patronizing, but I think that it's actually brave. She's an older woman.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way that we judge women by their appearance, Lynn Redgrave is oftentimes wearing a slip, is almost unclothed, and it is not flattering the way we would think about it. But it is so real and so honest that I found it, again, brave.
Okay.
And just her commitment to this role. I think playing someone who is, for lack of a more elegant description, mentally unstable is oftentimes a high wire act.
Yes.
Because it can fall into farce. It can fall into a joke. And there is never a moment where poinsettia isn't a real human being with real feelings that you care for. The other side of this equation is James Earl Jones. We've talked about James Earl Jones's physicality in the past. And I love how this leans into James Earl Jones as a big man. He's an older man.
Yes.
But there is still so much physicality here. And just the plot of him wrestling with this demon. He is rolling around on the ground. He is going back and forth across the room.
Yeah, he's throwing himself all over the place. Yeah, yeah.
And this is a thespian. Like this is like you can tell he has a background on the stage. Like just the physicality of James Earl Jones. I have to say, we can talk about his Jamaican accent, how much it is or is not necessary. But man, him saying poinsettia with that deep James Earl Jones voice, I said, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're Jamaican. If it's just to hear you say poinsettia, it charmed the absolute hell out of me. I appreciated the sexuality that these older characters had. And, you know, I think as film goers, I think as people who are familiar with plot and everything, I do think there's at least for me, where I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. I kept waiting for this to get overly serious. I kept waiting for there to be some tragedy. And slight spoiler, there isn't.
No.
There's complication. There's plot development. But again, I think there's a real sweetness. There's a real warmth. There's a real coziness. So that when this went off, to circle back to, and you know, I hope it didn't offend you. Like I hope you're not about to tell me you hated this movie. It reminded me so much of how I think about your likes and dislikes. Like I said, this felt like a warm cup of tea. Like I
All
did.
you need is a cookie.
All you needed was a cookie, so that I did. I really, really fell in love with this film.
I want to start with Margot Kidder because, I'm looking at the movie and I'm seeing like she's third billed, Margot Kidder. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm sitting back and I'm watching a movie and I'm watching it, but I'm like, where's Margot Kidder? And at one moment, this woman who runs this boarding house, I don't remember what she said, but she said something, and the way her head kind of tilted up. No, she tilted down and with her eyes looking up at James Earl Jones as she said it. And I said, that's Margot Kidder. The other elderly person in this movie is Margot Kidder. And just like you, she has been carbon dated as Lois Lane for as long as I can remember. Mm-hmm. And I think it also probably doesn't help in that way because Christopher Reeves died so young as well. So you almost see the two of them together as Clark Kent and Lois Lane. Because the whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm like, okay, well, Margot Kidder's going to play Lynn Redgrave's daughter. She's going to come in, and complications will ensue.
Right, come blowing in here.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. I'm like, and by the time she makes this look at James Earl Jones, the movie's probably a third of the way in. So I'm like, they're really waiting for Margot Kidder. She's just going to come. I'm like, oh my God, that's Margot Kidder. I'm like, oh, wow. And don't get me wrong, I was liking that character all along anyway. Mm-hmm. But then when I realized it's Margot Kidder, well, now I love this character.
Right.
Because you're right, she's not in the movie a whole lot. You kind of like lose her story for a little bit, but I think that's very purposeful. Mm-hmm. But when she comes back in, she's a welcome sight to come back in, and joyfully like just starts playing with everyone, right? But she's not in the movie because the movie it's about Fish and Poinsettia. That's who it's about. We are introduced to James Fish in the beginning, Obadiah Fish. We introduced to him in the beginning in a very like almost heartbreaking way that he has to leave this home that he's known for 10 years, which yes is probably still later in his life, but still like you figure, all right, this is where I'm going to be,
right?
But no, I've got to start all over. So that is really heartbreaking. There's a scene where he's leaving the institution. And there's this young woman who obviously lives there, and she is bawling her eyes out and shaking. And he reaches out and touches her hand, hey, I'm going to be okay a little bit. So it's very heartbreaking. But wait, there's more, because then you're introduced to Lynn Redgrave.
Yeah,
and you realize like, whoa, what is her deal? Because she's walking around. It's like, I don't know if you remember the old movie Harvey, where Jimmy Stewart is walking around with an unseen 6-foot tall rabbit.
Right.
Poinsettia is walking around. She's talking to this Puccini. Mm-hmm. She's at the movie theaters. She's everywhere, just talking to herself. She's watching this kabuki theater, and she's singing in the middle of it, singing to Puccini, whereas everybody is. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with Lynn Redgrave in this freaking movie? But the one thing that I have always appreciated about Lynn Redgrave when I've seen her is, of the Redgrave sisters, she's the one that seemed to not take herself too seriously. With all due respect to Vanessa Redgrave, who's a phenomenal actress.
Sure.
I think Lynn Redgrave can give her run for her money if she wants to. But she likes to have a good time. That's why she had a TV comedy in the 80s that I remembered. I was like, I remember liking her. Boom. And then seeing her in this, and you're right, I don't necessarily think it's... I hear what you're saying about the bravery of her performance. But I just actually looked at it as, wow, look what can happen when you give these older actors a moment to just be somebody, not just be the old person in the film.
Right.
I'm just I am just poinsettia in this film. James Earl Jones, I am fish in this film, right? And see how much life they still have in them that they can bring to these performances. With all due respect to James Earl Jones, who I think is great in this movie, I think that he's still, outside of when he's called to do the like wrestle him with himself a little bit, he still comes off a little bit of like James Earl Jones. Maybe it's the voice. Maybe it's, you just can't get away from he's this big man.
Yeah.
But Lynn Redgrave, she is a mess in this movie. She's got mental health issues. She's a bit of an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Who stays plastered drunk outside of his apartment door throughout this movie. She's got problems. But these two people find one another. Mm-hmm. And I think another reason why this movie stands out and feels a little bit out of time is because in 1999, the year 2000, it's made in 1999, it comes out in 2000, they ain't making movies like this anymore.
No.
Not in the theaters.
No.
Not in the theaters. Where these two older actors, three with Margot Kidder, are able to just be fully formed individuals playing on screen.
Yeah.
Having a ball, playing on screen. And you talk about how they're sexual with one another, their romance with one another. And this movie easily could have played into the stereotype of one doesn't want to truly reveal themselves to another.
Right.
Or like you said, you're waiting for, there's a moment where James Earl Jones, he's falling down the steps and you have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well, here you go.
Here it is.
Here it is.
Right. Here's the tragedy.
Here's the cough that you're always waiting for.
Right.
But no.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, well, they're going to be okay. And it's just the exploration of how do you find someone that you can still find someone that you can still, even at this later stage in life, not only find someone, but you can grow yourself and with someone.
Right.
And I thought that was so encouraging, such a beautiful story to tell. I think you're right, Charles Burnett. This is definitely fertile ground for him to explore. And I actually, because it was him, I'm also waiting for, okay, this is going to get a little macabre.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You're waiting for the darkening to come around the edges, but it never ever comes.
No.
And I don't know what. I welcome that. I'm happy for that. There is a lightness, a playfulness to this movie that makes it very welcoming, very engaging. You're right. There are beautiful scenes as they come together and their world widens along with the aperture of the camera. There's a beautiful scene of them just, rowing down the river. Yeah. Under the bridge, and all these young people just taking them in. It is Oh, fuck. I was just talking the other day with someone about my mom. And my mom kept every card that my dad ever gave her.
Yeah.
Kept them in she had a scrapbook for them and actually cut them in half so you didn't have to pull them out. You could see the front and the inside. Mm-hmm. And just now thinking about them rolling down that in that boat. This movie it's that card. Mm-hmm. It's them giving each other this card at this stage in life that you can still find love. Mm-hmm. You can still find togetherness, someone to be with, to walk, and that will take you as you are. Yeah. You know, you need me to referee this wrestling match between you and this demon. Right. Well, I got you. Matter of fact, I'm tired of this demon. Take it. I'm going to shoot the demon. Look. I was like, what?
Look.
First of all, poinsettia don't need to ever have a gun.
Look, man, again, you're talking about him falling down the steps. He is in the midst throughout the film of building Noah's Ark with some matches.
Oh, yes.
Every time he lit one of those matches, I said, well, this is a moment where they start a fire. Mm-hmm. And at one point there is a fire, but it just burns down the boat. They call it Chekhov's gun because it is a gun. Mm-hmm. As soon as she goes and buys the gun, you think, well, this is where it happens. But the irony is, it's almost like speaking of Superman, the cliche of the last Superman film where they said, you know, kindness is the new punk rock.
Yeah, yeah.
Like this sort of gentleness is the real. Mm-hmm. Like this is the way to really kind of be cutting edge. Like you really want to be cutting edge. If you really want to be taken seriously, you know, you choose kindness. Like you choose this sort of gentleness. And you're right, it's just an exploration. And to your point about you can always start over, like all three of them have these challenges represented.
Yes.
I love the final moment where they show that all three of them have buried their demons.
Yes.
In the case of Fish, literally buried his demon. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they've all moved on. You know, I love the fact they're still going to live in the rooming house. There's a part where Fish gets sick.
Yes.
And the doctor comes to check on him, says he has pneumonia, we need to take him to the hospital. And he says, do all three of y'all live here alone? And it's like, no, we're not alone.
That's right.
We have each other. We are a community. It is.
And you see the doctor gets like a little squirrely look on his face.
Right.
Like, y'all three by yourselves?
Right. We're not by ourselves. We're with each other. Mm-hmm. And we have figured out a way that this works.
Yep. Yeah. It's a beautiful movie.
Oh, score.
It's a beautiful movie.
I knew you'd like it.
I do.
I did. I watched it this summer. I said, oh, Lynn would love this. I did. Because... Again, speaking to our earlier conversation and just generalize and the impetus for this podcast, frankly, this is a film that was lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it couldn't find a distributor.
That's right.
Because it was shown at, I think, the Toronto Film Festival.
Yes, TIFF.
And a critic from Variety didn't get it.
Nope.
And panned it.
Yep. And thus nobody went for it.
And thus no one went for it. Now, understand, this is in 1999. Mm-hmm. This is after A Killer Sheep. This is after To Sleep with Anger. We'll talk about The Glass Shield next week, even if The Glass Shield wasn't a huge critical darling. Like, this is Charles Burnett. But this one man's review carried enough weight that this thing was gone until a few years ago.
I think like 2005 or something.
Right, and now it's sort of, since that time, gained the prestige and the respect that it should have been, because it's Charles Burnett.
Yeah.
And in full disclosure, I didn't know about this film. I didn't know this film existed. When it came on the, God knows I've thrown rocks at the Criterion Channel in the past, so now I'll give them their flowers. When this came on the Criterion Channel, there was a lot of pomp and circumstance about it. I was like, oh my God, it's a Charles Burnett film that I don't know about. And I watched it this summer and fell in love with it.
Yeah, it's a charming film.
Yeah, but
film.
again, it's
a charming film. It only because of the subject matter, it being this exploration of these elderly characters, does it feel like a Charles Burnett film. It really doesn't feel like a Charles Burnett film, which I can understand. Maybe that may be part of the reason why. I would imagine there are probably hardcore Charles Burnett people who don't know about it.
Let's put a pin in that.
Okay.
Because my question when we watch The Glass Shield in a few weeks, what exactly does a Charles Burnett film feel like?
Good question.
Because I'm going to contend, I think the esteemed Mr. Burnett is a bit of a chameleon.
Okay.
But like you said, I do think, and then part of the reason, again, you just feel like something's going to happen is because this is this To Sleep with Anger, Charles Burnett? But where that one had this darkness, when you talk about the supernatural, this one had a bit of whimsy. Like, I know you notice, like we keep talking about Fish is imagining wrestling with this demon, and it's a figment of his imagination. But you notice every time he threw him out the window, the bushes moved.
The bushes moved. That's right.
The bushes moved.
That's right. That's right.
So,
but hey, at the end of Harvey lets himself out of the institution to continue with Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah. So,
I love Harvey.
Yeah.
So would you recommend that people see The Annihilation of Fish?
I would. Not only would I recommend people see it, but oftentimes this tension that comes from you don't know what's going to happen in the film is something that I support. Like, oftentimes I don't want people to know what's going to happen. This is my second time watching it today. And because I knew nothing bad was going to happen, I could just luxuriate in it. I am letting you know nothing bad is going to happen. Like, again, there are going to be these moments, like there's literally a gun. And it's like, oh, Chekhov is pointing at the, and again, there's Fish is going to get sick. And like you said, we've seen people cough before. But no. It really is just a beautiful exploration and a beautiful showcase for three actors.
Yes.
Who people would say were past their prime, and they're letting you know we're not.
Not at all. Not at all.
And you?
I would recommend that people see The Annihilation of Fish. I think it's a beautiful film. I think it is a lovely story. And a bit of a throwback to a type of films that they don't make anymore. At least not in for theaters.
Right.
But I think they should.
Okay.
They should.
Well, there you go.
So yes, I would recommend The Annihilation of Fish. Go check that out.